in collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
On this week's programme, we hear how Cyprus is streamlining its approach to the European Union with the appointment of a Secretary-General for European Affairs.
We need to make sure that Cyprus speaks with one voice in Brussels.
With Turkish drill ships backed by military vessels anchored within Cyprus' exclusive economic zone, the Permanent Secretary of the Foreign Ministry outlines the current situation.
We hope that Turkey will get some signals of determination coming not only from Cyprus but also from the European Union.
A project is launched to help migrants and asylum seekers access the jobs market.
It can give the possibility to be able to go after better paying jobs for third country nationals.
And we need to rethink our approach to energy consumption.
We'll also need to build our cities to be smarter and to be able to take advantage to the fullest, to, let's say, exploit them in a more efficient way, which is not being done right now.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs hosted a reception last week attended by the diplomatic corps and the press, and it was to introduce the newly appointed Secretary-General for European Union Affairs, Kornelios Korneliou. After the inaugurating speeches, I spoke to him about the remit that he was undertaking.
It's a newly created post. As the Minister said, we feel the necessity to have a permanent structure for the internal coordination of the government.
What will this new post involve?
Well, first of all, we need to make sure that Cyprus speaks with one voice in Brussels. You know that the European agenda, has more and more horizontal issues. So it's important that all departments of the government who have a stake in those issues need to have a coherent voice in that regard, and so Cyprus can speak with one voice in Brussels and be more effective in this regard.
Now, you're going to be based in Cyprus.
In Cyprus, yes.
Does that mean that, for example, a government department that is going to Brussels for some event may come to you before they leave to say, what should we be doing about this?
Yes.
This is our view. Is that
yes.
compatible with the overall Cypriot policy?
This is actually the goal. The goal is not to replace the ministries, the line ministries, but the goal is to bring everyone on board, discuss the issues, and if there are some differences, sort them out, and then Cyprus can speak with one voice in Brussels. So this will make our case, our voice, having more weight.
It's going to be quite difficult when you consider that in so many different policy areas, 4 or 5 different government ministries are responsible for a tiny portion
yes.
of this, that and the other. How are you going to bring that together?
Well, I did a similar exercise when I was a permanent representative in Brussels. But of course here we're talking, there I was ambassador. Here I'm just an ambassador dealing with ministries and ministers. So it's more tricky, it's more challenging, but it should be consensual. We should do it in a respectful manner and always recognize, acknowledge which line ministries has the lead. And then, of course, we sit down together and through dialogue and exchange of views, I'm sure we will be able to come to a conclusion.
Now, you will obviously at some point, I guess, be travelling to Brussels to
yes.
see various things that are going on there and bringing information back.
Yes.
What's going to be your first priority, let's say, in the new job?
Well, first of all, I've been in Brussels already. I met with my previous colleagues, my good friends there in the different departments, in the different institutions, and of course I presented this idea behind the creation of the General Secretariat. Everybody has welcomed this idea.
Do other countries do it?
Yes, all the countries, all the member states.
Also, we're playing catch-up here.
Yes.
Oh, dear me.
No, not catch up, because it worked in our unique way. It worked for 15 years. But now the minister understands that there is a need. We have more horizontal issues, we have a more rich agenda, a European agenda, so he feels that there is a need to establish a permanent structure. And this is what we're doing here. So we did it for 15 years in a different way. Now we're going to do it in a more permanent manner, so to say, learning also from our mistakes, but also from our successes of the last 15 years.
We wish you the very best, Cornelius.
That I will need.
That is Cornelius Corneliou, the new Secretary General of European Affairs in Cyprus, and we wish you well.
Thank you, Rosie, thank you.
In collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
And staying with the Cyprus Ministry of Foreign Affairs, on Tuesday the press were invited to a briefing about the current situation in Cyprus' exclusive economic zone. If you follow the news, you may know that a Turkish drill ship has been anchored west of Cyprus since last month, accompanied by military vessels, and another drill ship is also expected to be deployed soon east of the island. Both areas are claimed by the Cyprus government as part of its exclusive economic zone and continental shelf, whereas Turkey maintains that the area west of Cyprus is part of its own continental shelf. While the ministry continues to use diplomatic means, there's no doubt that tensions have been rising, and the permanent secretary to the ministry, Tassos Journis, told me what the current state of play was.
Well, currently, as you know, there is one ship, drilling ship, Fatih, supported by warships by Turkey, including submarines, and another ship, Yavuz, is on its way. It is right now in a port of southern Turkey, and waiting for receiving instructions to come to a target, a drilling target, most probably to the south of the Karpats Peninsula, according to our information. This is a very bad development, a continuation of bad developments. We're doing our best to confront this situation, and what we can do under the circumstances is seek and achieve the solidarity of our partners in the European Union.
Well, you have tried that, and they have come out with some positive statements.
Yes.
But what actually can anyone do if the Turkish drill ships go ahead and drill in Cyprus' exclusive economic zone?
We have taken some measures, as you already know, and we believe that they have produced results. I'm talking about the issuance of arrest warrants for people working for the companies or on the platform, and that has already produced results. Also, our efforts with some companies involved have produced concrete results because some of them already have withdrawn. We don't know the real situation, but we believe that these actions have produced results even without implementing any arrest warrant.
And of course you don't want anything to escalate. That would be bad for the whole area, and particularly for Cyprus.
What we want is for them to leave, nothing more than that. But it seems that the Turks are acting politically, and they show they are determined. Let's see what is going to happen in the next FAC meeting, the Foreign Affairs Council. We are working on some measures. Some of them may not be achieved soon, but we are still hopeful that there will be a continuation. It's not a situation that is going to stop tomorrow, and we hope that Turkey will get some signals of determination coming not only from Cyprus but also from the European Union.
Of course, a final way of solving all these problems would be if Turkey would agree to arbitration or some form of international court to negotiate with Cyprus and delineate, okay, maybe slightly smaller for Cyprus, but a compromise somehow, then we could all go ahead and drill without problems, couldn't we? How far can you push Turkey towards that sort of a solution?
What you say is true and right. There are ways to solve international problems. First, by negotiation, and second, by conciliation, arbitration, or recourse to an international court. And in this case, the competent court would be the International Court of Justice. We invited Turkey to negotiations. We wouldn't have a problem if Turkey would accept recourse to the International Court of Justice. I'm saying that because Cyprus has accepted the compulsory jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice. Turkey has not. If Turkey accepts that, then we can go to the International Court without asking anybody, because Turkey would have accepted it. But again, there is the other way of reaching a special agreement between Turkey and Cyprus to go to the International Court of Justice only for that specific conflict. We are ready for that. We are ready for that. And that is a way for countries to solve their problems. I know what they are going to say, but let them say no.
The Permanent Secretary to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Tassos Jonis.
Listen online to the Cyprus News Digest on YouTube or at cyprusmail.libsyn.com. The latest program is uploaded every Friday, and if you missed one, you can catch up there.
Earlier this week, the First Step implementation team, in cooperation with the Cyprus Pedagogical Institute, had an intercultural education workshop. Now, all right, it sounds a little bit fusty perhaps, but actually it's all about vocational training for refugees, asylum seekers and immigrants. The whole idea is to get them integrated quickly into the labour market on the island. And from the team, we're joined by Leandros Savidis to tell us all about the idea. So, Leandros, great idea, because a lot of refugees and asylum seekers have a wealth of talent between them. How is this going to help?
Well, basically, the idea behind this is to be able to take advantage of the different talent, but at the same time to provide some kind of path for people to integrate and feel that they are welcomed into the whole society of Cyprus, right? And the vocational training program that we are aiming to complete has to do with providing the necessary knowledge that is a gap between what the employer needs, what the labor market in Cyprus needs, and what the people who come in Cyprus want to achieve and what kind of skills they have.
Now, one of the first basic skills, of course, that can be a problem is Greek.
Yes.
How are you going to deal with that? Because without the Greek language, then a lot of employers just aren't interested, are they?
Well, in Cyprus, we have an advantage that in many jobs you also have to speak English as well, right?
But you speak English as well as Greek. That's the problem.
Of course. There are a couple of other projects that are dealing with language. Our program is taking the needs for the language gap as well. So we'll have translators within class, and we'll try to help people as they will be helped when they are in real-world situations. So there's not going to be a specific Greek language class, because what we need is vocational training.
So when you say vocational training, what does that mean? What sort of training?
All right, so our program is split into two different phases. The first one covers soft skills. So it's basically skills that people can use in many different types of jobs. For example, learning the legislation about work in Cyprus, workers' rights, the legislation in the EU that is transposed in Cyprus, learning some organizational skills, some cultural issues that arise in the workplace in Cyprus.
Like what?
Well, how people in Cyprus deal with money issues, or how people in Cyprus are expected to be treated at services, or how the workers' rights are being implemented in practice, right? This sort of stuff that it's kind of hidden curriculum, if you will. Right?
Okay.
So it is brought up and shed into light. So because, sometimes this common knowledge is not very common, right? And you have to spill it out in order to be able for also employers in Cyprus to learn what type of people are coming to Cyprus, how can they best utilize the different skills, right? And to be perhaps be more open to the ways of the people that are coming in Cyprus, and of course the other way around.
So learning a bit about our culture, basically.
Yes, but not just this. So the soft skills also contains building of CVs, right? How to be able to conduct interview, where to search for jobs, what type of jobs are there in Cyprus, so that people know about and not searching blind. This sort of stuff that we believe is very important in order to navigate, because nobody has a personal consultant for a job every day, right? So giving this knowledge and this information, learning how to be able to find a job, we believe that is going to help people to navigate on their own when the first phase at least is finished. And the second phase is about the specific job expertise. So people who would like to learn a specific job, for example, being in the kitchen or working in a warehouse, in the management of a warehouse, or in the tourist industry as an education trainer, these different types of jobs.
Now, let's just though clarify here, because until people are recognised refugees, they're not allowed to use the skills that they may have brought with them from their home country. They have to work in the blue-collar jobs. So that's a problem. I mean, for example, a doctor probably knows nothing about looking after pigs or working in a kitchen. Are you able to help them until they get their papers?
So, yes. Well, I mean, we cannot change the labor laws, as you can imagine. But what we can do is to give at least the necessary knowledge in order for people who don't have papers to get by with dignity, right? To get some money on their own, to have some autonomy, and not be dependent just on benefits.
Which none of the ones that I've met want to be.
They don't
want benefits, they want a job.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about pay. The pay in most of these jobs is appalling. What is the minimum that is supposed to be offered?
This is something that you have to ask the government agencies about, to be honest. But it depends. It really depends, because part-time jobs is different, full-time job is different. As you know, the minimum wage is about 800 something, it's 860.
But that's for only certain types of job, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the minimum wage for the Greek Cypriots and people who are from the European Union, right? Who are not third country nationals. For third country nationals, I am afraid that the situation is different. They get much less for the moment, but our program aims to change that, because usually what happens is that they go to jobs such as farm, right? They go to jobs that are very tiring, they need a lot of manpower and usually a lot of labor. And usually these types of jobs are not paying very well. What we want to give to these people is also the little push, if you will, in order to be able to try and get jobs with better pay. I mean, one program, of course, as you can imagine, cannot change the wage system in Cyprus, but it can give the possibility to be able to go after better paying jobs for third country nationals, of course.
Okay, and what about actual training or apprenticeships for people who perhaps don't have skills? Like, for example, going and working in a carpentry shop and learning carpentry or something like that. Or mechanics.
The second phase of our program entails some sort of apprenticeship. It's not coded as apprenticeship, but we do have a provision of placing about 25 out of the 100 people that are going to attend the second phase of our program into different types of jobs in order to be able to see how it is in the jobs that they selected to be trained about, right?
So they will learn some skills.
Yes.
Which could mean that in the future, when their full papers come through, they are qualified to actually go and apply for jobs.
Yes, but not only when they get their papers, even for asylum seekers, they can be able to work and learn on the job as well. Perhaps it's a more limited set of jobs, right? But as you probably know as well, the government has increased the number of jobs that asylum seekers are allowed to take. And we feel that in the future, perhaps there are even more jobs that the list is going to get bigger.
So this happened on Tuesday. Now, I presume it's an ongoing thing for several months. How was it received on Tuesday?
It was received very well, actually. So what we had on Tuesday was basically an intercultural workshop day, where we tried to bring in different colleagues and stakeholders and people from beneficiary population in order to not only to state what is the role into this whole thing, right, and to commit to, I mean, for example, through the Employers Association, to commit into getting more of third country nationals into the jobs, or from the government agencies to be able to help them to find better quality jobs, or from our partners, their own stake.
So it was a networking thing, really, to start?
It was a networking / how each one of us approach each other, understanding how each one of us approach the other, basically.
And how is it going to work long term now? Are you going to meet every week? Or is it once a month? How does it work? I mean, if I've signed up and said, I want to learn these skills, what is my commitment in time? Because, of course, when I'm with you, I'm not going to be able to be earning any money as a job.
Exactly. So what we say to potential beneficiaries of our program is that time-wise, we are able to provide some flexibility. For people who already work, but they do want to take parts into first step, we can have the weekend groups, right? But in order to answer your question about time management, the first phase is 36 hours in total, and the second phase is 110 hours. The reason there is this disparity in time is because the first phase is about, of course, soft skills. There's so much you can learn about culture, right? And then you can go on your own. But the second one is a very specific job expertise process. It's a lot more intensive. And of course, there's private face-to-face consultation as well in order to get a job. At least for the first phase, it will not take the whole life of participants, right? They have 2 or 3 times a week, 6 hours. So they're going to finish within 2 or 3 weeks, the whole thing. And we have different groups. The first phase is going to get involved 300 people, which, as you can imagine, for Cypriot standards, that's a lot of people, right? So there's going to be different classes of 20 people each. And one by one, as classes are formed, people are getting informed to come to the European University.
And presumably once this series has finished, if it's successful, there'll be more.
This is a pilot program, right? It's the first pilot program of its kind in Cyprus. This is why we say this is a pioneer program. This is a program that was long awaited by many people, that we see also when we go out and network with beneficiaries as well. And we are here not just to give the knowledge, but also we want to assess the situation. What are the problems? And
to receive some knowledge about what's needed.
Exactly.
Okay. So, if people are interested in the intercultural workshop, did they have to sign up on Tuesday, or are there still places?
For the classes, they will be able to complete the application.
Who should they get in touch with to find out whether or not there's space for them this time, or they have to wait till next?
How we do this is basically we have a Google form on our platform on the internet, on our website, and they can complete that, or they can call us or send us an email to be able to register them, and then the European University team is going to process their application and call them as soon as they get placed into a class.
So what's the website and the phone number?
So the website is www.firststep.com.cy, and our phone numbers is 99024901 and 875561.
That's the First Step implementation team who kicked off with an intercultural education workshop earlier this week.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
On last week's programme, we dealt almost exclusively with technology because the EIT Awareness Day was taking place in Nicosia. Just to remind that that's the European Institute for Innovation and Technology. And there was so much going on, I didn't have time to include everything in last week's programme. So this week, we meet up with Paris Arallis, who is from Kino. That's a technology transfer facilitator, which is based in Athens and serves both Cyprus and Greece. EIT Inno Energy, implementing its activities through them in Cyprus. And he joins us to tell us about his work and what he told the conference.
So I basically said a few things about what is Inno Energy, how it operates, how it helps innovation in sustainable energy to grow throughout Europe, and how the hub of Inno Energy helps entrepreneurs and startups, but also SMEs and other public organizations to make their ideas grow and to create a more sustainable energy future.
Now, people mostly these days, I think, if they think of sustainable energy, they think of renewables. But I wonder whether or not innovation can take us much further down the road as to how we manage the energy, whatever it comes from.
Yeah, I think that a big part of sustainable energy is renewable energies, and it will have a more significant role in the future. But it's not only renewable energy sources; it's also the way we commute, the way we use our energy in our houses, so making buildings more efficient and making our transportation more efficient. But also having a lot of renewables doesn't also mean that everything is great, because we'll also need to build our cities to be smarter and to be able to take advantage to the fullest, to, let's say, exploit them in a more efficient way, which is not being done right now. And we need to make our electric grids smarter and more efficient, which is some of the areas where Inno Energy is looking to invest in the future.
So give us an example, if you can, of the sort of innovations that have been brought in this field in the last couple of years, because it's obvious from what you say that this needs to be a collaboration between many different sectors in the design stage.
Yes, so for example, we have been working with a company in Greece that has actually their core business was space. So they did space simulations for the European Space Agency, but they saw that they could transfer that know-how to manage the electric grid in a more efficient way. But in order to do that, that's a big effort. So that company had to collaborate with research institutes and universities, and also with big energy players, in order to see if the solution that they have developed was actually something worth pursuing. So Inno Energy invested in order for them to do a feasibility study to see if that solution could actually work in real life.
And what sort of things are people working on now? Because there are speakers at the conference on food, you're on energy. There's so many different parts of daily life that can benefit from innovation, but particularly, again, if they work together.
Yeah, there are synergies everywhere, and I don't think that if we focus on just one sector, we can create the sustainable future that everyone is looking for. I think that what EIT is doing is very remarkable, because under one umbrella, the one of EIT, so many sectors come together and they work together in order to create a sustainable future. That's why we are always looking for the so-called cross-kick activities, where our different kicks collaborate with each other in order to create something more tangible.
And there was a lot of tangibility going on at that EIT Awareness Day conference, and we've been talking to Paris Rallis from Kino, the EIT Inno Energy Hub. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.